everyone, Thunder Thrills here! Today I'm reviewing Demon at Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois. This is one of my personal favorite roller coasters, as it makes my top 15 favorites. This is one of the most underrated coasters I've ever ridden, as I think it's one of the best coasters in the park. I didn't ride it on my 2019 trip, but on my 2017 trip, I love this coaster. This coaster opened in 1976 as turn of the century, where it apparently had two amazing airtime hills where the loops are today, and the airtime was apparently so sharp and intense it hurt the riders due to just how insane it was. So in 1979, they closed the rides, and next year in 1980, they renamed it Demon. I personally believe that this is one of the most underrated coasters I've ridden, and I will explain why. Like the last review, I'll be dividing this into 4 categories, including layout, restraint, smoothness, and theming. So with that being said, let's get started. Starting with the layout, I think this layout is a step above Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis's. The layout is nothing amazing, but its forces of the ride makes it so good. You start with the lift hill, which gives a good view of Raging Bull and some of the other roller coasters for diving down the first drop. This drop is nothing insanely special, but I didn't ride it in the back, which I hear gives a good ejector pop. But after that comes the first loop. This loop has some great force to it, and it almost makes you gray out because of how forceful it is. And next up comes a small straight section, and next up comes a small straight section into the second loop. This second loop is very forceful, and the only point where I got any headbanging, and it wasn't even severe headbanging. After that comes a cool lit tunnel and some cool lights and theming that you emerge onto the mid-course brake run. This mid-course slays you down hard, and this is the most brutal mid-course I've ever experienced, even compared to Ninja. You take an annoyingly slow turn that lasts about 10 seconds to clear before diving down the mouth of the Demon and going to the double corkscrew. These corkscrews give some crazy hang time before taking a relatively slow and janky turn into the brakes and ending your fun ride on Demon. Now that we've talked about the layout, let's talk about the restraints. This coaster's restraints, despite being over the shoulder restraints, didn't bother me at all. A lot of people just arrow over the shoulder restraints for being bad, but they never bothered me unless they start banging my head. But on their own, they're relatively comfy and decent, and I didn't get a single headbang on this ride, so they never bothered me in any way personally. The next category is smoothness. I found this coaster incredibly smooth for its age. For a coaster in the 1980s, this coaster only had 2 remotely rough moments, and I went into this coaster with the lowest expectations possible, then being surprised by how insanely smooth this was. While far from the smoothest coaster in the park, for a coaster of this age, it has no noticeable rattle, and only 1 real headbang throughout the entire layout. For the final category, we have theming. This is probably the 3rd most themed coaster in the park, and it has some really cool rock work around the coaster that really adds to the experience and enjoyment of the ride. This is one of the best themed amusement park coasters I've ever ridden, and one more major thing about the theme I haven't mentioned is this coaster's amazing theme song. This theme song is a jam and really sounds awesome. This entire coaster has a whole soundtrack playing in the queue, explaining the Demon and what it is and how it's, in quote, possessed the roller coaster. I'll link the entire soundtrack in the description if you care to listen to it. So in conclusion, Demon is a great classic roller coaster that I'll give an 8.5 out of 10. This is a great and underrated aero looper that I love. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, everybody!